Romans chapter 8, starting at verse 6, and that's where we'll be. It says simply, "For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace." How many of you heard there's a saying that says experience is a good teacher? You've heard that before? Experience is a good teacher, but it's not the best teacher. This is something that I've realized, that people are the sum total of their life's experience, meaning that whatever you've gone through has brought you to a place in your life that you have reached. Everything that you've gone through has brought you to a certain place in your life. I've had so many experiences, and the sum total of my experiences have challenged certain areas of my life, so that those certain areas are my strengths. And at the same time, my strengths help me to work on my weaknesses. Some of our experiences feed, I'm going to be very careful with what I say today. Some of our experiences feed our sin nature. You do realize that, right? I'll say this: most of our experiences feed our sin nature. And we have to differentiate between what is carnal versus what is spiritual. Let's take a look at what the carnal does for us. The carnal desires, first of all, they're not equal to the needs of the physical body. They go far beyond what the physical body actually needs. Really, at the end of the day, we only need food, clothes, and shelter. Really, that's what we all need. At the end of the day, we're running around here getting 2 and 3 jobs, buying big old houses that we really only stay in 2 rooms, the kitchen and the bedroom, or the sofa if you can't make it because you got the itis and you done fell asleep on the sofa. So you got these big old houses, and we really don't need all this space, but because society or the norm says we have to have X, Y, and Z, we go out, and our carnal desires cause us to go and get more than what we actually need. Carnal desires are the desires of our heart to sin. Their source is the sinful nature residing within us. All of us, even Doug Gumby, has a sinful nature that dwells inside of us. To live in the body is to be vulnerable to these desires, which lead to the stimulation that pleases our heart's sinful nature. A carnal person centers his mind on satisfying his fleshly desires, and he will even fearlessly follow those. I'm going to pick at us in a little while, but I want to help us right now. Let me take a few moments to just look at what our carnal desires versus what our spirit requires. Adam and Eve, if you remember the story, had freedom. They had the freedom to eat and partake of everything in the garden except one thing. Now, look at it like this. God said, if it's 100 things in the garden, 99 things you can have freely. You can indulge in freely. But this one thing, I want you to leave it alone. One thing, I want you to say, no, I'm not going to touch that. I got 99 things I can touch. 99 things I can indulge in and make a part of my life. But the one thing, that's what sin does for us. The one thing we can't have, it tells us that we must have. The carnal nature was in Adam. Adam, just like us, had a responsibility to choose over either carnal or the things of God, the spiritual side. Let me say this and then we'll get into the text. We do have freedom to experience life in so many ways. But just because you're experiencing life does not mean you're experiencing freedom. For the time that is ours to share, I want to speak from the topic, knowing true freedom. Knowing true freedom. Feel free to tweet, text, do whatever with the notes. Let people know where you are at church, and it's a great witnessing tool to share the good news of Jesus and things that catch you. Share those things. I don't have a problem with that. I won't get offended. Trust me. The first thing out of the three that we must realize today in order for us to know true freedom is we must peruse previous precepts. I'm going with the P's today, if that don't matter, that don't bother you. We must peruse, P-E-R-U-S-E. Peruse previous precepts. A precept is something that is set for your life. It is an order that has been set for your life. In verse 2 through 5, it says this: for the law of the Spirit of life in Christ Jesus has made me free from the law of sin and death. First off, let's take time to notice that there are two laws at work in all of our lives. The law of Christ through redemption, and the law of sin and death, which we were all born into. It's already a part of our lives. In verse 3, for what the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh, God sending his own Son in the likeness of sinful flesh, for sin, condemned sin in the flesh. That right there for me does it all.